Welcome back to the topics of the strategic management. It is a continuation of my previous lecture. In the first lecture where it ends, it is about the comparison of the strategic fit and strategic stretch. On that, we ended at that position, and this will continue. Till now, we have seen the various definition of the strategy, what strategic management attempts to answer, how this business policy has changed to strategic management, what are the different environmental service organizations, it is for profit and not for profit, how they work. We have identified three different activities: entrepreneurial work, marketing work, and operational work. And every areas there are the three political activities: transaction, what we call entrepreneurial political transaction, marketing political transaction, and operational political transaction. And finally, we have seen the how strategy, what it means, that long-term direction, resource commitment. It can be the strategic fit, it can be strategic stretch. So we have ended it there. Now coming to that, and then this lecture, first is that what are the different kinds of levels of strategy. There are the three different levels of strategy. What we call the corporate level of strategy, that discusses which business we should be in. Like say, we have given the example of the Tata. Now take another example, Imperial Chemical Industries. Now it is named as Imperial Chemical Industries, but till very recently in our country it was known as ICI India Limited. Imperial Chemical Industries, it is one of the largest conglomeration of chemical industries with headquarters at London. In our country, ICI, till very recently its headquarters was at Calcutta. They are in the business of paint, explosive, and fertilizers. So three different business they are in. There are many firms, those who are in different business. So we call it is, let us say that steel, Tata, they are in the steel, automobile, chemical, watch, and IT business. So which business we should be in, that is the corporate decisions. We call it is a corporate level strategy. Next level is the business level strategy. How we should compete in business A. In a particular industry, say Tata or say Imperial Chemical Industries, they are in the paint business. There are a number of other firms who are also in the paint business. Asian Paints, Basak, Johnson Nicholson, there are many other firms, those who are also in the paint business. How they want to compete in the paint business, that is the business level strategy. Same thing with the Tatas, how they are going to compete in the four-wheeler passenger car business with Maruti as well as with other companies. So that level of business we call it is a business level strategies. In business level strategies, since they are in the different, it may be similar, it may be dissimilar business, connected or disconnected business. In that case we call it a SBU, strategic business unit. What is strategic business unit? Strategic business unit is a part of an organization for which there is a distinct external market for goods or services that is different from another SBUs. So in that sense, for Imperial Chemical Industries, paint is one of the business SBU, explosive is one of SBU, fertilizer is one of SBU. Similarly for Tata, one SBU is the steel, another SBU is the automobiles, another it may be the watch, another it may be the IT business. And then last level is that operational strategy. This operational strategy is nothing but the functional strategy. If all this business level strategy or corporate level strategy has to be implemented, it has to be implemented through operational strategy. Now operational strategy is basically it is a functional strategy. It can be manufacturing strategy, it can be technology strategy, it can be IT strategy, it could be marketing strategy, financial strategy, human resource management strategy. So that is called this operational strategy. So there is certain differences between strategic management and operational management. Strategic management is usually it deals with uncertainty and ambiguous situation in the environment, because you are planning for the next 5 or 10 years. All informations are not at your hand. At the same time, there may be lots of change in the environment during the next 5 to 10 years. And that makes it the decisions, strategic management decision is the complex. And it is all the strategic decision, it has this organization wide effective. It affects throughout the organizations, and it is a fundamental. If that goes wrong, many of the organization may be out of the business, and it is a long-term implication on the firm. On the other hand, operations management is a routinized information or activities. Many of the tasks at the lower level is a routinized and which can be computerized also. Operationally specific, and it has a short-term implication. Then second influencing factor is the market dynamics. Market characteristics are changing continuously. That we call the market dynamics. Then this alignment of certain attributes. These attributes pertaining to the firm as well as the market. We call it as the internal and external. So internal is pertaining to the corporation itself, and external about the market. Resource commitment. A minimum amount of resource commitment is always necessary for exercising the strategic management approach. That we call the strategic budget. Unless your budget meets that amount, nothing is going to happen in that. And for each environment, there exists a minimum strategic budget level, what we call the critical mass. Unless the company, like you see this, suppose another company enters into the detergent market, with whom detergent soap market, with whom it has to compete. One is the Hindustan Lever, another is the Nirma. To be successful in that kind of market, one has the minimum amount of budgets, and without that minimum amount of budget, there is no point of entering into that market. At least you have to come to the level of Nirma's product. To deliver that kind of volume, quality, price and deliverability throughout India, you require a minimum amount of marketing networks, production network as well as marketing network. So naturally there is a minimum amount of resource commitment has to be there. This resource commitment we call it is a critical mass, and if you don't have this kind of resource commitment, you don't stand anywhere. Information gathering, because when there is an interaction with the environment, you require lots of environmental information, whereas in the operational level, most of the information pertaining to the internal, not external. So this information model gathering is model about the perception of the environment. This perception of the environment is developed by according to the managerial capability of that organization and managerial culture. They will be able to deliver that goods. It also depends upon the choice of aspiration. What is the aspiration of that organization? Historical tradition and inertia. This is one of the factors will decide that where it wants to be and what it can aspire from the environment. Aspiration of powerful groups of the groups and individual. In every organization there will be the formal and informal groups, and everybody has certain, and some formal and informal groups have the power. And this powerful, what is the aspiration of these powerful groups? Who can lead the organization at certain level, and managerial aspiration of strategic leadership. So strategic choice is influenced by the historical factors, political and managerial, and it has the three different alternatives. These alternatives, three alternatives are: one is the budgeting behavior, which we call there is no strategic change, it is only the continuation of the past, that we call the budgeting behavior. And usually it is a continuation of the financial statement. That means you have the market share of 30% in this year, you just plan in the next 5 years we have the 35%, every year 1% increase. So ultimately what will be our financial position, what will be the finance requirement, many kinds of resource requirement. So that is, we cannot call it as a strategic change, it is just a budgeting behavior. Then is the strategic adaptation, continuity with the past strategic change. In past also that company, that particular firm has undergone many strategic change. So your change in the future, it will also be of that varieties of change. There is nothing novelty in that change. So that we call the strategic adaptation. What kind of strategic adaptation you have strategic change you have adopted in the past, in the future also you want to adopt a similar kind of strategic change, that we call this as strategic adaptation. And another is a strategic discontinuity, breaks with the past change, and that is the really strategic. So different firm, they are in the different conditions, they are operating in a different market, they are operating in a different environment, their internal strength and weaknesses are varying from another. So accordingly, how they try to match that external requirement with internal capability, that they have to choose any one of these alternatives. That alternatives are budgeting behavior, strategic adaptation and strategic discontinuity. And here one diagram is that on which it is modeled, and I will just tell this diagram. That is, at the bottom of this diagram we have these three blocks. One block is the strategic discontinuity, another is the strategic adaptation, another is the budgeting, and above that we have many round figure, oval shaped and rectangular shaped. One is the market dynamics, what we have already discussed. Then market dynamics, that brings the turbulence in the environment. Then we have the strategic transformation, then perception of the environment, choice of alternative and choice of strategic thrust. And from choice of strategic thrust, then that comes this power shift. This power shift will be basically the strategic adaptation. If there is a strategic drastic change from the past changes, then you need a power shift to engineer that change. In that organization there are many other things will be required, and potential transformation, that is as per the abilities of the firm, that includes that managerial culture, managerial capability, logistics capability, capacity of the firm. This usually influence, and this is the decisive factors on which the strategic adaptation or strategic budgeting, strategic adaptation or strategic discontinuity has to be decided. Three alternatives. It also, another thing is the performance aspiration and cultural aspiration of the firm, and this is a continuous process. Ultimately, when it matches, when it fits to the organization, we come to the decision that how environmental service organization, their behavior is decided. These are the factors of that. This is the one aspect of how any kinds of firm. So it can be elaborated, or this complex diagram can be reduced to a certain simplistic diagram. We call it as a strategic 3 C's. What are these 3 C's? One is the customer, another is a corporation, another is a competitors. So both corporations, here corporation means your particular firm, and competitor means those who are in the similar business, because they are your competitors. You take this information technology business, TCS, Wipro, Infosys, Satyam, many other firms are there. Many foreign firms are also there. So if you try to analyze the things, suppose for the Wipro we are analyzing. So Wipro is the corporation, and TCS, Infosys, Satyam, many other firms, they are competitors. All these competitors as well as corporation, they are trying to serve the customer. So customer is at the top, and what they are serving? Nothing but certain product and services for which customer has certain value, and in exchange both these competitors as well as corporations, they are getting some amount of return. But for servicing this customer, both corporation as well as competitors, they are incurring certain amount of cost. So this we call the strategic C. Now if we made certain more elaboration that how we are looking at the customer, are we serving the whole customer base or certain categories of customer? So if you look at these things, how we can market segment, there it comes into picture: market segment, multiple market segment, then target segment. This target segment can be the high income group, professional, senior citizens. There are many other, this is just example, because the market segmentation will vary from the business to business. Now you see the high income group. Say in the car business, lowest is the Maruti 800 and highest is that Mercedes or Octavia, which are priced 12 lakhs and above. So this is the one segment. Skoda company, still it is not operating at the lower level. Mercedes is not operating in our country at the lower level. But there are firms, even Ford companies, they have the product, all products are below 10 lakhs, but they are not operating at the lowest level. They are operating in a, so how do we make the segments? Same thing is Hindustan Lever making soap. They have the soap, Dove, price is above 40 rupees. For whom it is made? But at the same time they have the other soap, which you get within 15 rupees to 20 rupees. So everywhere there is a market segment. You take the shoe industries, Nike and Adidas, they never operate below 1000. Rather I should say the price is more than 5000, most of the product, and they give 50% commission almost throughout the year. After 50% commission it comes 2500 to 3000. They are not operating in that shoe business with 100 rupees shoe or 150 rupees 500 shoes, but some companies are operating, they are not operating. So in which segment you want to operate, that the company has to decide. Similarly, that competitors, when you are going to analyze that who are your competitor, what things you should consider in that: competitive environment, price, quality, distribution channel, after sale service, and critical strategic elements which constitute of R&D capabilities, design and manufacturing. Now you just say in automobile business, Fiat, they have tried to enter in our country with various product, but they could not become till now so far successful in that. Why? Nobody is telling that their quality is bad, but at least one thing has been already pointed out, that distribution channel is not good. You just look at this, how Maruti gives the advertisement. I think you must have seen that advertisement, that four youngsters, they drive a car, some lonely place, and they are looking for the Coca-Cola or some cold drinks. A small boy, he comes out from a shanty and asks for the Coca-Cola, cold drinks. He mentioned it is not available here. Then those fellows, those who have driven that car to that place, they ask for, is there in Maruti work center, authorized dealer, or it can be repaired? That boy answered yes. So what message it conveys? Even in a desert, you will find a Maruti service center. Fiat cannot claim these kind of things. In spite of the good product, due to this distribution channel, and what they have done ultimately, they have a collaboration now with the Tata Motors. With Tata Motors distribution channel, they will try to sell their product. This is the tactics or strategy they have adopted. So all these things are very important. It is not that you produce a good product, price it properly, but you have no distribution channel, you don't succeed in the market. Then you go for the collaboration, what Fiat has done. So these are the certain factors that needs to be considered while deciding the strategy. So in case of the corporation, your corporation, what are the things you will what issues you try to discuss or try to consider. One, first is the product market differentiation, whether it is done properly or not. Strategic core competences, what competences you have to remain in this business and to succeed in this business. All key functions should be considered. Your design engineering abilities, manufacturing engineering abilities, marketing abilities, HRM and IT. So these we call these strategic 3 C's. It is also proposed by Kenichi Ohebe. So successful strategy is one that ensures a better, stronger matching of corporate strength to customer needs than it is provided by competitors. Then only you succeed. At least to remain in the business, you have to be equal to the competitors, and to succeed, you have to be better than competitors. A good business unit strategy must address all the functional aspects of customer needs and competitions. A shrewd strategist will always try to view the strategy's 3 C's in perspective and try to influence the dynamics of relationship among them so as to expand the corporation's relative advantages. These are the essential element for determining the strategy of the firm. And ultimately, you require also resources. In Japanese term, this triangle that shows in the Japanese term, we have the goals, we have 3 things: hito, kane and mono. Hito means people, kane means money, and mono means things or fixed assets. That means plant and machineries. So this a perfect combination of all these things. These are the key resources for any organization. It has to be utilized for any strategy development or implementation of any developed strategies. Here again we come that we always call there can be a 5 P's of the strategies. What are these 5 P's? Strategies is a plan, that is the intended strategies. Company or corporation can plan a strategy for which it is intended. Strategy is a pattern, realized strategy, a stream of managerial decision, top management decisions that ultimately constitute the strategy. So it is a pattern of strategic decisions through which ultimately a strategy is realized. Strategy is a position locating a specific product in specific market. That is also a strategy. There are many examples in our country how properly designed, properly placed a product, position as a product in already strong market, they could able to dislodge or capture the market share. There are many examples are there. Strategy is a perspective, organization's fundamental way of doing things. Like the way the McDonald's, they have started their restaurant business in this country. It is a fundamental way change of doing the business. Strategy is a ploy, specific maneuver intended to outwit a competitor. How a competitor can be thrown out from the market. There is a specific that we call the ploy. So these are the 5 important P's of the strategy. Now, so long as we have concern about the strategy, what is the strategic management definition, how it is developed, what are the key constituents of the strategy, what strategic management tries to answer, and how the strategies, resources, what strategies will be required, all these things we have discussed. Now, strategy as a robust action. Ultimately, strategy is a stream of action also. So, strategy sometimes it is viewed as, so for the robust action, it requires certain conditionalities. First is that it requires abandoning the grand view of the strategy. Strategy as such is not going to be implemented, or it cannot be developed also. If you just see there is a grand view made at the top, nothing is going to happen. Cognitive activity takes place at upper level of management and implemented at the lower level of the organizations. If the strategy is viewed in that way, that there is a work givers and work doers, nothing more than that. It was the theory up to 70s. From 70s onwards, gradually we have changed our views. It just cannot be dictated on the lower level, those who are working at the hierarchically lower level of the people. So in that case it will not succeed. So strategy instead should be considered as a complex systems of acting and talking. So acting and talking means talking with whom? Talking with the people at the different levels of the organization, those who will ultimately implement your strategy into reality. So that's why you need the action as well as talking with the peoples, those who will implement that. It has to do with entire network of conversation within a firm. It cannot be just concentrated in the top level of the management. And it is a complete network of conversation in the firm. Then only the strategy, proper strategy will be developed and proper implementation will be done. And this has been taken, the success of the Japanese organizations, that gives us this idea. And of course many of these views that has been developed in the Europe and America, that has been replaced by the Japanese theories only on that basis. With the way action is continuously pursued through this network, it is a continuous process. It is not that just one way activity. Continuously there will be pursuing this network, and all this acting and dialogue, talking, that will go on continuously with the feedback loop at every level. Characteristics of effective strategies. What should be the characteristic of the effective strategies? Effective strategies act as a bridge between the past and the future. If the organization is old, then it has a certain past history. Suddenly it cannot be wide departure from the past history. So effective strategies act as a bridge between the past and the future. Corporate strategies is responsible for shaping the visions of firm's future. In fact, the strategy always talks about the long-term planning. In 5 4 or 5 to 10 years, where do you want to take this organization? That is the task of the strategist. So in a way they are shaping the vision of firm's future. Good strategies is never a historical. It is always path dependent. Only on the basis of the history the things cannot be, a future cannot be created. But it does matter what is the history of the organization. A manager is pulled into the future with every action and speech act regardless of its scale, because the strategist and the manager, it has to see the future of the organization. So we can say that the strategist sits between a past of corporate capabilities and future of market opportunities. So strategist has to create a link from a past capability, past of corporate capabilities. It has to take the market opportunities and take the organization into future. Second, effective strategies are both planned and opportunistic. It cannot be just planned for once. It has to be planned because it is a 5 years or 10 years duration you are planning. Everything is not known to you. What is going to happen, it cannot be predicted so accurately. That creates certain problem in the firm. So we call it as a both planned and opportunistic. So whatever opportunities market environment will create, everything should be grabbed. So there is no best way to formulate and implement strategy. The alternatives of any particular approach depends largely on how it is framed. In reality, strategy is a messy combination of both of these perspectives. One is that induced formal planning. We must do certain formal planning and begin with that. Also we should have autonomous informal entrepreneurial activities. If we don't plan, it just cannot begin. We should plan, and then also we have these informal entrepreneurial activities. Formal plans must be flexible enough to accommodate these emergent actions which rely heavily on individual intuition, timing and circumstances. Third characteristics is that effective strategies involve wide variety of actions. As we have seen at the beginning itself, strategic management, it tries to integrate many of the activities, all of the activities of the organizations. So the word strategy covers all kinds of things. It is not really reducible to a single essence of one kind of action or another. So in this connection, I tempted to quote from one author who was involved in writing a working paper in Harvard Business School, that strategy involves judgment about when to commit and be willing to bet. Commit means commit of actions. Once the plan is made, company should be committed to that action, and also resources and willing to bet. When to delay making a commitment, when to kill something, that means you are in this business today, because as I told, in the most of the firm, they are in the many business, similar or dissimilar business. It is not important that always you have to continue since you are in that business. As you have seen that SCC, one of the large cement manufacturing firm, which Tata has a large holding, they are trying to reduce their share in that firm. And it may be possible you completely withdraw from that. So that we call the killing. When to hedge and ensure a bet, when to hustle, and when to try to change the rules of the game. As I have mentioned at that political, there is a political transactions, and political transaction is one is the rules of the change. Entrepreneurial is the rules of change the rules of the game. So that is also an important factor, when to try to change the rules of the game. There is no easily generalized answer for when manager should pursue which course of this action, because these decisions rely heavily upon the situation in hand. And one of the good example is given by James B. Quinn regarding that acquisition of a farm. So how it is done? The statement is like that. He wrote that so much depends on the availability, sequencing, condition of purchase and specific management characteristics of individual companies that one can only proceed flexibly and opportunistically, interactively, reshaping initial vision and strategies as corporate potential emerge. As we have seen, the two global acquisition, one is by the Tata Steel, one company they have acquired, and another is the Mittal Steel, they have acquired the two companies. It has happened in the last 3 months. And how they have done the diversification through acquisition, and they have not immediately jumped on that. At least in Mittal case, the case was going on the last 2 years, and then only. So it is a lots of process, and you have the whatever initial plan, then you make the adjustment in the plan. All such things one has to make it. So finally we came to that. I am about to wind up my lecture. So strategic management. So I want to finish it with some definition. What strategies ultimately needs to be when developing, what question must be answered, and finally with certain philosophical statements I want to conclude it. So strategic management is that set of managerial decisions and actions that determine the long-term performance of corporation. It includes 4 activities: environmental scanning, strategy formulation, strategy implementation, evaluation and control. Of course, all these things will be done one after another, and there is always scope of feedback to any of the previous steps, because it is a continuous process, and this continuous process usually will be done or accomplished with a feedback loop. Unless there is a feedback loop, we will call it is a dictated from the top. So feedback loop is that you ask the question, you consult with the people at the lower hierarchically lower level whether this can be done or not. If they have any suggestion, that suggestion needs to be incorporated in your plan or action plan. Question asked halfway during the strategy development. While developing the strategy, what are the questions a corporation needs to ask? As we have seen, there are the 3 C's: corporation, competitors and customers. So naturally questions should be related to these 3 C's. First is that our customer wants well defined and understood by the industry. Whether industry has understood the demand of the customers, what they want. That is very, very important. Suddenly you bring the product because you can produce it and try to sell it in the market, and ultimately you find that customer wants the different thing. Then you are at a loss. And it happens. There are many business that has gone, that has to be closed down due to these reasons. Second is that, is the market segmented so that differences in those ones are treated differently, because different market segment has the different needs. As you see, the fellow who is purchasing Maruti 800, that person is very much conscious about the fuel economy of the car. But the fellow who is purchasing Octavia or Mercedes, for them fuel efficiency is a neglected factor. That is not a very important thing. So different, because they exist in a different market segment, So that is the question, whether market is segmented properly or not. That must be done, otherwise you will be in trouble, that corporation will be in trouble. Second question is that, is the business unit equipped to respond functionally to the basic wants and needs of the customer in defined segment, whether that capability is there or not on the part of the organization. Do competitors have different setup operating conditions that could give them relative advantages over the business unit in the questions? Now there is a philosophy of the strategy. Whatever I have talked, that can be wound up in this way, that the first one is the active attack on the environment is a threefold urge: to live, to live well, to live better. In fact, the art of life is first to be alive, secondly to be alive in a satisfactory way, thirdly to acquire an increase in satisfaction. That means we call it a survival, then growth, stability and profit. Second one, for we live not in the settled or finished world, but in one which is going on. That is, the change is continuously changing. The environment determines the modes and condition of the behavior necessary for the survival and the achievements of the organizational aspirations. All man can see these tactics whereby I conquer, but what none can see is the strategy out of which victory is evolved. This is a widely quoted book written on the strategies. And last is that the test of fastest strategist is not only the ability to hold the many different views in the mind, but also to be able to synthesize them somewhere between the specific that has no meaning and the general that has no content. There must be for each purpose and each level of abstraction an optimal degree of generality. And last is that when I have won a victory, I do not repeat my tactics but respond to the circumstances in an infinite variety of ways. Again, it is quoted from the Art of the War. So this is the end of this. I hope you have liked it.